In this session, we're going to take a look at the View pull-down menu, one of the global menus at the top of the screen in GeoGebra. Under View, we have first of all Axes. It is nothing more than a switch. Choosing it, you'll notice that there's a check mark there now, meaning that it's active. Choosing it will turn it off, and the axes disappear. Choosing it again brings the axes back. In a similar way, we can have a grid. The default setting is off, but if we choose grid, a grid appears in the background with the dashed gray lines. We can turn it off again by simply choosing it, and it goes away. Next item is the algebra window itself on the left-hand side of our standard layout. Choosing it makes that disappear. We can bring it back immediately by just choosing it again, or Command, Shift, and the letter A. Auxiliary Objects is next, and to demonstrate that, we'll call up a project that has already been created. In this GeoGebra project, we see that we have a triangle ABC, and we have constructed a perpendicular from vertex C to the opposite side AB. That construction involved using 3 circles. Those circles are not really important to the final result. They are in the construction steps itself. To make it a little bit easier to follow through, one way to do that is to make these circles appear as dashed lines, a technique that's used in many textbooks. However, you can also go a couple steps further. You can identify those objects as being actually auxiliary objects and treat them as such in the algebra window. We'll notice that right now these 3 circles appear as D, E, and F over in the algebra window. We're going to change that. We're going to select any one of the circles. We'll go to its properties, and now we're going to select all 3 together. We could do this separately, but we might as well do all 3. Holding down the Shift key, I've selected all 3 circles. I'm going to now choose Auxiliary Object and close. You'll notice that when I did that, we'll do that one more time, the circles over in the algebra window then disappeared. Their equations were no longer visible as soon as I click on Auxiliary Object. We'll close. The circles are still there. That has not changed at all, but their equations are no longer visible. However, under View, we can come to Auxiliary Objects, and we have a 3rd folder now containing those 3 circles. Again, this particular menu item is useful if you want to reduce confusion for students trying to absorb too many equations or too much information all at the same time. It allows you to just put that information out of the way for a while. The next item we have is horizontal splitting, and that too is a switch, or it will be a switch. All it does is split the total window into a horizontal split, top and bottom, instead of left and right sides. It is not used very often, but it's there for those times when it would be a better display. Again, we can pull it right back to the default setting. Input field. That's normally on. The input field is the rectangular entry spot at the bottom of the GeoGebra screen, and we have an input button as well. We'll turn it off, and now that particular display is gone. We don't have an input display or entry bar or any of its commands available right now. View, choose input field, and they are back. Command list applies to the command list at the bottom along with the input bar, and if we choose it to not display, then it simply takes that list and temporarily hides it. Once again, we can bring it back by just choosing it. Construction protocol takes us into a very powerful little tool. This will actually record. We're going to go to it now. This is a record of all the steps that were taken during our construction. Point A, point B, point C, creating the triangle, segments, creating point D, the first circle, the second and third circles, and finally ending up with a perpendicular. You also have the ability to break these down into what are called breakpoints or not. We'll go to the View menu within this submenu, and it will allow us to see the breakpoints. Now, if we want to change the way the breakpoints behave, we can do so. For example, we will go in and put some breakpoints in various places. We have the triangle, we have the first circle, we'll jump to the second of the lower two circles, and then finally the line. Okay, that creates 4 breakpoints for us. We can also go back to View and show only the breakpoints. What that's going to do is make things behave differently. We're going to choose that, and now we see only the 4 breakpoints, and we'll see what that does. I'll collapse this window slightly. Now, at the bottom of the protocol window, I have a play mechanism, and I'm going to run it through. We'll start at the very beginning. Now we see just the triangle, and we're going to step through. There's our first large circle at the top, our 2 lower circles, and finally our line. We've simply compressed it into the main parts of the construction. If we wanted to see all of it, then what we would do is go to the View menu and turn off Show Only the Breakpoints. Now when we look at the protocol and go through it, we'll start at the beginning again. We're at the very first point, 2 points, 3 points, our triangle, the beginnings of our circle. There's the circle itself. Point E and point F, those are intersection points. Circle, circle, intersection point of the 2 last circles we drew, constructed, and the final step. All GeoGebra programs record a construction protocol. How you display it is up to how you wish to have it shown, if you want to even show it. It can be very useful in helping students to think through the logic of a construction, or think through the logic of a demonstration of relationships of pretty much any type. We'll shut down that submenu. Also under View, in addition to the construction protocol, we have a navigation bar for construction steps, and what that does is allow us to automate it almost like a movie. I'll change the timing here to 1 second, and we will play this construction. Now this is all automated. It's the same steps you just saw, but it's being carried out by the computer on its own. And there's our construction. Okay, I was doing nothing during that construction replay other than pressing the play button. And again, if you wish to have students stop and think about each step or name them, you can make this a longer exercise by just choosing to set your timing to 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or whatever you wish. Finally, under the View menu, we have an item called Refresh Views. Notice also that because we have a different display, we do have a play button and a button to open the construction protocol. Are some items that have been added on that weren't there a moment ago. This is the button that displays the construction protocol, and the play button is exactly that. It says so right on it. You can make those visible or not visible at this point in the View menu. The final item is Refresh Views, and to do that, let's call up a new file for a moment. So let's close out. We can use the same settings. Now, the Refresh Views will allow you to erase the information left or the trace left when you do a trace. We'll do a real simple example. Let's suppose we create a point, and we'll go to that point's properties. We'll turn the trace on, and now let's move that point, and we see that trace is doing its thing. If we want to keep point A where it is and not have to back up the entire set of steps, we can go up to View, choose Refresh Views, and the trace is erased. And that is the View menu.